Hey Sam, how you doing? All right, good job. Good ad. I have not seen this ad before. I think it's a really clever ad. It's actually it's the simplicity, it's the strength, and I think that making this correlation between Halloween and cake is something that I think is an advantage. I think it's an opportunity that was created by the designers for this ad. One doesn't normally connect cake with Halloween, but what a great way to promote your product with a holiday. Or I don't know, Halloween's not really a holiday, or is it? I don't know. But it's a really wonderful opportunity. So I really appreciate this ad. I think it's exemplary of an opportunity seized from a clever designer and clever marketers in their ability to be able to use a recognized holiday in order to promote their goods. And I think that's really clever. Now, as far as I just want to go through your writing here. Utilizes pure symmetry, absolutely pure symmetry, 110%, no question about it. Okay, so effectively it's through the use of images as well as the text company and placement of the logo. I want to talk about the logo in a second. The end is symmetrical includes subtle differences between the left and right halves, which enhances the effectiveness of the symmetry. I mean, subtle differences, maybe just some crumbs, but yeah, very, very little difference. I mean, what you would definitely not want to do is duplicate this and rotate it and bring it over here. You definitely wouldn't want to do that because then it would be very obviously that was just duplicated. So the crumbs and the way that the pie is cut or the cake is cut somewhat irregularly, I agree. It definitely enhances the the piece. So you talk about this, you have a dark red as a background, but their use of white space. So white space refers to negative space. So anything that doesn't have an element, a design element in it is considered negative space, and that's also considered white space. So white space doesn't have to be white, okay? And that's a pretty important distinction. Um, yeah, and then contrast and emphasis is definitely placed on the white, and there's good continuation here as the white is continued from the color of the filling of the cake down through to the text and then down through the logo. So there's an excellent continuation of the element of color here, reinforcement and repetition. So I have really two comments now that I want you to address. Number one is this: is if I were the designer for this piece, or if I were the art director for this piece, I would have done this. I would have taken this logo, reduced it a little bit, I would have placed it right down here in the right hand corner. And the reason, actually, I'm gonna hold off on giving you the reason why. I want you to tell me why you think this would be a good placement of a logo. Think about how we work typically through a composition in Western countries. How we read top to bottom, left to right. There's a really, really solid clue for you as to why I think that the placement of the logo would be advantageous here. Aside the fact that as a designer, I do not like symmetry at all. I think it's boring, and I'm just not a fan of symmetry in design. So, and the reason being is because I think symmetry does very little to really activate the negative space or surrounding the counter space surrounding the design elements used in a composition. Okay, so that's my first question is, how do you think that this would affect moving this? Why would you place it here, and how would it affect the overall ad? The second thing I want you to address is the use of color. Why did this designer decide to use a gradient here from dark, dark, dark red to a lighter red instead of just leaving it as a red background? We also see continuation of color through the red and the cherries and in the background. But my question is, why do you suppose? So two questions. Why would we want to move the logo over here? Actually, three questions. Why would we want to move the logo to the right? What effect would it have on the ad? And why do you think, what's happening with the gradient? What is the gradient doing? Why did the designer, in your opinion, decide to use the gradient? Okay, and yeah, I'd like you to address those questions in response to this video. And great job, good post. Thank you very much.